live. QPTV.org's live daily show. I'm your host for today, James. We got a lot coming up today, so let's just get right to it. Right. Welcome back to QPTV Daily Social Live. Get the microphone not too close. Close enough so you can hear me clearly. If you can't, you could always let me know. You're on social media. We'll just show that right now. If you're on social media, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitch. And if you're not messaging on social media, you could message us directly by email. Send it to media@qptv.org. Back again. Let's get started. Before we continue with showcasing today's content, QPTV's channels and website are currently under construction and maintenance. We ask for your patience while we make things better. Program submissions to QPTV's web file upload portal are not currently available. Please do not send in your files for processing via web or email. Programming department will contact you with details as soon as they are available. Go to qptv.org and you could find out specifically what's going on. And you can always watch the show as well. Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Let's lower the mic a little bit. Okay. Let's take a look at before we take a look, getting ahead of myself here, everything, there's so much stuff to show you. COVID-19 19 update. We have a ton of resources, information, and links and videos on COVID-19, and especially COVID-19 in Queens. QPTV's own Queens Conversation and Queens Perspective has an ongoing series of episodes featuring and focusing COVID-19 in Queens. Go to qptv.org to check it all out. So let's get started. First, I want to talk about. Let's talk about Queens Conversations from last week. Of course, Queens Conversations is the live talk show featuring QPTV's award-winning production and hosting team, Lucia Dragos, Noran Omar, and John Collins, having discussions with the diverse spectrum of Queens residents and leaders. Every topic is incredibly relevant, and every discussion is enlightening. And this past week, the crew had on some folks, and they were talking about the neighborhood of Astoria. What we'll do is that we'll take a look at that, give you a little taste, and of course, after this show is done, you can go to qptv.org and watch the entire program. So without further ado, let's play that.
People are preserving something that's kind of like a history, so to speak. So we've had things in the past that non-for-profit organizations and things like that, just in general. But what I've seen is people that do move in here, they really want to help, and they reach out to us, whether it's photographers, writers, whether they're helping out the community with food drives, clothing. So that's one aspect of it, that they really do get involved in community. Other things that people like to do is they love eating, they love going out, they love enjoying Astoria Park, comedy shows. There is so many options right now, even though we're still in a pandemic, but there is so many things that people can go out and see and do. And we cover a lot of that in our magazine, which comes out every month. So we on our website, which is givemeastoria.com, we cover things to do, we cover a lot of food, we cover a lot of community events. Our magazine is distributed in a little over 100 locations all around Astoria, and I'm happy to share. Tomorrow we're gonna this is an issue that's coming out tomorrow, and we're covering the best of 36th Avenue. We do that each month. We take the avenues and we talk about what you can do, family fun, brunch ideas, drag shows. There's a lot of places that do that as well, that have that trivia nights. So
We're running
yeah,
out of time.
Lots of things to do. Lots of things to
Nora,
do.
lots of things to do.
We only have just about 3 minutes. I just wanted to speak about gentrification. Astoria is being known as the new Manhattan. So I wanted to know your opinions of how has gentrification changed within the years in Astoria. Bob or Sonia, if anyone wants
and we
to
have
speak.
2 minutes left.
Well, one of the things I can say is there's some parts of his story that I hope never change. And we talk about restaurants, and you really know how wonderful a story is when you go to another neighborhood. You just don't have the variety you have here. But one place that has been really near and dear to our heart has been Bohemia Hall and Park. And we were involved in saving that place. The whole craft beer, all that kind of stuff really started here in Astoria with Bohemia Hall. So when you talk about gentrification, there are waves that happen continuously within any community. But beyond that, there are roots within a community. And I think that what we need to do is to look at these roots and to say, this is what Astoria is all about. And when people come here, we change, but they change too. And that's a successful community, to take the best of all worlds.
Let's go quick.
Oh, of course, you want to check that out, qptv.org. You can watch Queen's Conversations live when it's on QPTV, on qptv.org. That's on Thursdays at 3 p.m. You could also watch this episode and all previous episodes of Queen's Conversations on qptv.org/QC. And coming up tonight, 5:30, State Legislative Forum, Queens, brought to you by City and State New York. And that will be on Spectrum 56, RCN 84, Verizon 36, and of course, QPTV.org. We'll be bringing that to you on the website, streaming live. Then tomorrow, Wednesday, May 12th at 5 p.m., also from City and State New York, the 2021 State Labor Power 100. You'll want to check that out. That'll be on Spectrum 56, RCN 84, Verizon 36, and of course, QPTV.org. And all these programs, after they're streamed, they'll be available as part of QPTV's live simulcast series. You can find that on QPTV.org. We'll bring that up for you right now. We have all of QPTV's simulcast. We're bringing you the public service to the Queens community and, frankly, to the world, where we're showcasing some of the most important and impactful streams and webcasts and simulcasts and webinars that really we think are important for you to know. The information is out there, and we're bringing it to you right here on QPTV. With that, let's take an announcement break. Or rather, we'll tell you about public service announcements right here on QPTV. This is QPTV Daily Social Live. We'll be right back. Once again, you're watching QPTV Daily Social Live. Hopefully, live, but you could always watch it later on. And with that, if you don't already know where else you can watch QPTV Daily Social Live, I'd be happy to show you. Whoa, wrong button. It's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitch. The information's up on the screen, but I'll be happy to read it on Facebook at Queens Public Television, Instagram at QPTV, Twitter at QPTV, YouTube, QPTV, Queens Public Television, LinkedIn, QPTV, and Twitch, Queens Public Television, all one word for all of those. But you can also email us directly, media@qptv.org. Send us your questions and comments. We'd be happy to answer them to the best of our ability. And if you have a really great question, we'll be happy to read it on the show, of course, with your permission. But with that, we'll also tell you about the channels, because if you're watching QPTV, you got to be watching one of the channels. You can see all of QPTV. And this is what's great about QPTV and what we do at QPTV is that it's about QP, Queens Public, as in you. So if you're in Queens, you can turn on Spectrum, RCN, and Verizon Fios. Save those channels on your remote control. Save it to your favorites. Write them down. Whatever technique you need to use, make sure you keep them in your mind. We got a lot more coming up. In fact, let's get right to it. All right. Let's see. We are up to... wonderful. So, last night, we had a very special impromptu stream that we were able to bring to you. The debates on QPTV, brought to you by Politics NY. Let's get that title up there. And this was there was two debates we had last night on the stream. The City Council District 19 debate and the City Council District 20 debate. I want to try to do, if this has been updated, as it came in pretty late, we'll have a little clip we can show you, and then we'll try to show you a little bit more of the following debate. Let's get it going. Let's skip ahead. I'll jump into the middle of it because, of course, this is just a sampling of what we have. You can take your time all day and night looking at videos on qptv.org, which I recommend highly.
For the senior populations that are, less technologically savvy and have trouble with those things.
And I'd like to just piggyback off from this because, I was one of the first people to call for a permanent site because I too was going through the same exact
volume
issues.
up.
And my parents who didn't have access to technology or didn't have in-language services had a very hard time accessing vaccines. But I think the important issue is, really to look forward right now, because now we are sort of at this place where we're now talking about vaccinations for our youth. And we have to learn the lessons. We have to use the lessons learned during this period of rollout as we figure out how we're going to roll out the vaccination for our youth going forward, because we are all sort of talking about, wanting to open up full time by September. But if we haven't learned the lessons of what we did until now with the current amount of vaccinations and outreach and understanding that communities need these services in language, in areas that they can easily reach and have help that are going to provide them with services that they're going to understand. And then we're going to be able to roll out the next phase of vaccinations for our youth. And I think it's particularly important because so many of our parents right now are sort of still left in limbo. Me as a father of a third grade and kindergartner, we don't know what's going to happen in September. Are we still going to be at this place where we're sort of like in school but not in school? Or are we going to be able to roll out vaccines by then with the leadership of like the federal government? But if we do, we have to do this right. And we have 3-4 months to do that once school ends. So I would like to make sure that we have the lessons learned by then. And I'm saying this broadly in terms of a government perspective.
It's funny that you guys all say about the vaccination and everything, but what I understand to be the top umbrella on this is a lack of communication and a lack of transparency to our communities about anything, whether it's the vaccination, whether it's about schools, whether it's about public safety. And the reasoning why a lot of our families, are, especially our immigrant families, are not getting vaccinated in certain populations is because of the lack of communication to these groups that we have in our own district. They're not getting any of the information out there, whether they're in Spanish, whether they're in Chinese or Korean. And that's a problem when your own government is not communicating, whether it's a vaccination, whether it's about schools being safe or not, whether or not what's going on as far as public safety is concerned. The major issue I think we have here, which goes to the other issues we're talking about, is transparency and communication of those in government to the people that they're supposed to represent and reach out to and say, this is what we have. This is what we have out there for you. It's safe. It's not safe. The schools, et cetera, et cetera. And if we don't have that as a government official to reach out to these families or these residents in our communities, then how do we expect them to move forward in life, to go to their jobs, to go to schools, and so that our city can further, everything can open up as well? Because people are afraid because they don't understand and know.
We also had, let's mute that for a second. We also had the City Council District 20 debate. And I'll play a little bit of that right now as well.
At least to the specialized high school we're talking about, retain the specialized high school. It's called, she said, SHSAT, and increase preparatory resources so all of our students can remain competitive. And we need to advocate for the billions of dollars that New York State still owes our cities' public schools. Now, let's look at these 8 specialized high schools. Oh, by the way, my daughter went to Brooklyn Tech. Why are all the parents and students looking at only Stuyvesant, Brooklyn Tech, and Bronx Science? What happened to the other 5 schools? All the taxpayers, lawmakers, parents, and students should really pay attention and make sure that the goal should be that all the kids and parents will be crazily dying to go to these 5 other schools. That will help to ease the issue, the arguments. Thank you.
Thank you. And John.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you so much. We do need to reconfigure the diagnostic methodology for allowing.
Do you want to check that out? And what we'll do now, we'll take a look at a quick promo and we'll be right back. Welcome back. QPTV, Daily Social Live. We got some more for you before we head out today. Let's take a look at last week's virtual town hall on mental health.
Their laptops, since you're broadcasting it or streaming, you might just want to mention that, like, change your name.
Great. Yes. Great.
Let's take a look at this. Let's jump ahead. You could get a good look. We'll get a little sample, but a good enough look to capture your interest. And then you on over to qptv.org so you can watch the entire thing.
To begin with, and to cope with that isolation and adjust to that. Now we're being asked to change again. And so that's going to throw all the systems into a state of flux. And we need to be really mindful and gentle with ourselves during this period. I'm telling a lot of folks essentially to go easy on themselves and to, it will get better, but for now, ease up the pressure, despite some of the messages we're receiving, some important messages and guidance that we're getting medically, but just a reminder that the emotional toll of COVID and everything that's followed in the past year, I think we're still going to see the biggest impact of in the months and possibly years to come.
Absolutely. I think it's so true, and thinking about how our children have endured such radical change, and I hope, my hope is that they'll catch up academically, they'll learn what the gaps are, but if they have to come out of this hopefully continuing to be healthy. And with that, I wanted to transition to Jessica. You work with children, the Child Center of New York, and we were just chatting before we got started that the need for mental health services for children has increased exponentially. Can you share sort of what you're seeing, and then also those of us who are here today who might be parents, what are some things we should think about as we are entering this new phase? And I think Alba's so correct, right? We're not out of this pandemic, but we are sort of phasing in-person learning, and I imagine by September we'll see probably more universal in-person learning. We'll see if there's options for remote. We're not sure yet. But if you could share any tips or tools that parents need to think about as we transition into this phase.
Yes. So one of the things that, we've experienced in the past year is that children have been falling behind academically. They're not really learning or getting all the services that they normally get in school when they're in person. So we're seeing kids really lose their motivation to do well in school. And we're kind of concerned about what that's going to look like in September when they do go back to in-person learning. So we suggest that really families reach out to the school, whoever is able to help them within the school, whether it be guidance counselors, school-based mental health services that are there to help transition the children into that, and to be mindful that your child might have some trouble adjusting to that reopening when they've been home comfortably in their safe space, but also lacking the social interaction that is really important for social development in a child. So, some of the things that we're seeing with these growing need in mental health services is bereavement, right? Loss of parents, loss of spouses, other friends, relatives, neighbors, in addition to growing anxiety, for those who already had anxiety, worse symptoms because they're seeing all the things that are going around them, not just with COVID, but with protests and all the political upheaval in the recent months. And we're also seeing an increase in domestic violence, substance abuse, as well as physical abuse. So a lot of things that, they were there already, they're just more salient now, and there's an increased need in services.
You'll want to check that out on qptv.org. That's obviously a big issue right now, mental health of everyone. Usually and hopefully once in a lifetime event of a worldwide pandemic. You want to check that out, the program on qptv.org. Also on qptv.org, we have the Asian American Community Mayoral Candidates Forum 2021 Race for NYC Mayor. You can watch that on qptv.org. We played a couple clips last week. But we don't have enough time to play enough of a chunk of the back and forth. But as you can see, playing behind me, you can watch on qptv.org, as I showed you before. And this and the other programs I showcased earlier involved the upcoming elections for city council seats, but also the mayor, comptroller, and also we have the introduction of ranked choice voting, which means that a lot of voters need to be re-educated on voting and elections in New York City. So QPTV, we're happy to step in and bring you that information, and we're working on it very hard, and I guarantee within the next few shows you'll start seeing some amazing content detailing along with this election, with these debates and forums. You'll be learning more about what's happening in this year's election. So we're happy to bring that to you on qptv.org, QPTV proper. And if you're unsure of where you can find QPTV, I'll show you again. Spectrum, RCN, and Files. Make sure you have those channels saved. Follow us on social media. Go to qptv.org where you can watch all of these simulcasts and lots of other QPTV originals. And if you're just curious about Queens Public Television, you've heard of us, you see us every so often, but you want to know more, just go to qptv.org. It's the home to find out everything you need to know about Queens Public Television. Like that. We're not done yet. Virtual Queens Day. Now, usually, let's turn that off for a second. Usually, Queens Chamber of Commerce and its guests would hop on a bus, head up to Albany, and meet the legislature, the Queens delegation to the state legislature. And with COVID-19, it's just not happening. So they did it virtually. And this is what we have here on QPTV, qptv.org. We are happy to bring this to you every year. Queens Virtual Day. We'll play a little bit while we can because we are running out of time. And I'm not picking anything out of favorite. It's very random. In fact, I'll close my eyes. I'll pick there and let's see.
We're delicious. But tonight I am highlighting Miss Mercedes Munoz, who's the owner of Mama Michi's on Junction Boulevard and Roosevelt Avenue in Corona, Queens. She, at the height of the pandemic, not only helped feed her neighbors by making hot meals, but with the small stipend that we gave her through our program with the Street Vendor Project and the Hispanic Federation, she was able to hire a few of our neighbors to help her make those meals. Unfortunately, Mama Michi's or Mercedes is also one of the victims of the big fire that happened here in Jackson Heights just a few weeks ago on 34th Avenue and 89th Street in Jackson Heights. She's a great neighbor to highlight today, so I appreciate the opportunity. I also wanted to give a huge shout out to the Street Vendor Project that's been such a key partner in highlighting our smallest businesses, in organizing them and helping us not only fight for lifting the cap on street vendor permits here in New York, but also in our fight for excluded workers in the Senate that we were able to win in this year's budget. So I'm thankful to all of you, and I'm thankful to these small businesses for everything they've done for us. Good to see everybody.
Senator Ramos, it wasn't a contest, but I will give you props. When we sent the email out asking for nominations, if I'm not mistaken, you were the first person to respond within like 20 minutes. So you get points for that.
I hope I get free tacos for that.
Oh, and by the way, for Mama Michas, when I heard about the fire, we sent our friends from SBS out. There's a woman named Bernadette Nation that is like the emergency response lady. And I think she was there within, I don't know, even 12 hours.
Okay, great.
Doing all we can to help support those businesses that got burned out.
Thank you so much.
Our pleasure, and thank you for being here.
And I was going alphabetically. The next person is our banker,
of participants
Senator
in
James Sanders.
virtual day.
I have to
in Albany, and if you have any interest in what's going on in your community, your neighborhood, you have to get down to the hyper local, grassroots, city, block by block level to know what's really going on. I mean, really, that's where you can make the biggest difference. And as you can see, QPTV is an avenue for all of these folks, all these people, and they know that QPTV is the way to get the message out to the community. So why not be like them? Make the best effort to reach out to your community, become a part of QPTV today. Whether it's just signing up for information or on your own, start planning your show. Start planning what you're going to talk about. And if you need help, if you need guidance, you can always go to qptv.org. You can write QPTV Daily Social Live. We'll be happy to tell you. Also, we've got, before we head out, I think we have something else here. Yes. Let's turn that music down. This is actually very somber. We had this on May 1st, which was Queen's COVID Remembrance Day. And that was a day to remember those lost COVID-19 held at the Forest Park Bandshell. I can't do it any justice. I'll play a few minutes of the opening ceremony. Once again, this is a very sort of random selection. And I was thinking maybe, and I might write it down, if I can figure out how to put a random button in here. I can pick any point in time in the video. But the idea is to give you a sampling of what's on the site. And I'm not, at this point, strategically cutting out clips because, quite frankly, it's a lot of content. And you can watch it on your own, and it's worth it. But what I'm gonna do, we're gonna flip over, and you'll get to see a little bit of this. But I highly recommend that you watch the entire program. It's actually in 3 parts. There's the opening ceremony, there's a flower ceremony, and then there's a closing ceremony. And all 3 are equally impactful and moving, and it really is needed. It's part of the process of healing, because Queens went through a lot, and believe me, still going through a lot due to COVID-19. You want to check this out. Let's switch over and let's hear a little bit.
For Raj Kumar, representing the Assembly District 38.
Good afternoon to my Queens family. Thank you to the Queens COVID Remembrance Committee, composed of neighbors who lost a family member to COVID and who have bravely led in the face of this great loss to bring our community together. This week, I introduced a resolution in the New York State Assembly, where New York State honored the work of this committee. The entire State Assembly paused in its deliberations for a moment of silence to honor our loved ones we lost to COVID in Queens. I welcome you to the heart of my district in this sunny Forest Park bandshell. This year, we grieved alone, but today we will heal together. Grief is a heavy box we carry. It is too heavy to bear alone. In this space of healing, we carry that heavy box together. We say to each other, "Let me carry for you what is too difficult to bear. I am my brother's keeper. Let me be the hands that lift, soothe, and carry you. Let me lay myself down and be your bridge across the river of pain and grief." Today we come together, open our hearts more to each other, and help each other. And to heal, we remember. We remember our loved ones we lost. A father who bought his daughter tea whenever she needed a boost to her spirits. A son who was the light of his parents' life. A husband with the perfect wry smile who shared your dreams. A grandmother who always knew just the right wise words to say. We did not have enough time with them. If only we had more time. One more year, one more day. But then we remember a tender moment, a small moment of love and care they gave you that lit up your life. That memory is timeless. It knows no limits of time. It is ever present. The memory sustains you. The memory bursts through its moment. It bursts through its photo frame in a yellow burst of light, lighting up your way. You remember words you can live by, a moment shared, seemingly so small, that means the world to you now. Many of our loved ones died of this disease alone, but I believe they died wrapped in the wings of angels. Angels who embraced them and held them. I do believe that. They were not alone. Our love was always there with them, and the angels were there. In grief, you can grapple with guilt, frustration, and sadness. I ask you to be gentle on yourself. In a dark moment, remember all the sunny days that your loved ones would have wanted for you. Thank you once again to the Queens COVID Remembrance Committee for their brave leadership in the face of loss, and to all who were brave enough to come today. Thank you to Leader Brian Walter and his mother Peg. Brian lost his father John, a beloved member of the Middle Village community who always looked out for others. Thank you to the Cardona family of Woodhaven, who lost their beloved Mireya Varga Cardona. Thank you to Manpreet Singh, who lost her loving father Gurpal Singh, an immigrant from the Punjab who always brought his daughter a cup of chai tea when she needed a boost to her spirits. Thank you for leading in the face of loss. In the words of Maya Angelou, a great soul serves everyone all the time. A great soul never dies. It brings us together again and again. We honor Sharon Bascom, a Guyanese immigrant and Queens resident, who served for over 20 years as a public school teacher. Joseph A. Ferrugia, a 30-year FDNY veteran from Ozone Park, twice cited for his bravery, who served during the 9/11 attacks. Rashida Ahmed, a home health aide, who was active in empowering South Asian immigrants. Luis Eduardo Riascos, a 21-year veteran taxi driver who was known to work holidays and weekends to ensure that his children had a better life. Inderjeet Maraj, 73, an immigrant from Trinidad, a train operator for the MTA for 27 years who knew everyone on his block in Richmond Hill. Ms. Henriquez, a beloved wife and mother from my district, who I know through her grieving family. We honor the beloved father of Arvind Suknanan, Sugrim Suknanan, an immigrant who escaped political turmoil in Guyana, first living in Queens with a few friends and a dream, spending almost 40 years realizing that dream and gracing the world with his presence. We honor Teresa Terry Collins, a beloved grandmother whose family is here today. From here in my district's Forest Park bandshell, we send our love to all of Queens, to the entire state, to the entire nation, and to the whole world. Our loved ones are always on our minds and forever in our hearts. We remember them in everything we do. Their memory is a blessing that gives us purpose in living. Thank you.
You want to check that out? It's Queens COVID Remembrance Day. I know many people have been affected, and a lot of people in Queens. A lot of people were lost, sadly. Check that out. Pay a little bit of honor and respect to those lost in your own way. But if you would like to see a visual representation of the love being poured out by the Queens community, please go to qptv.org today and watch the 3 parts of Queens COVID Remembrance Day. I hate to add on such a sad note, but it is the end of the program. You've been watching QPTV Daily Social Live on qptv.org. Thanks again, obviously, for tuning in. We'll be back again with more on what you should know from Queens Public Television, because we can't do this without you. In fact, we're here for you. We want you to become part of our in real life social network. Go to qptv.org to find out how to watch, learn, and create with QPTV. Tell your friends about us, share, and subscribe. Stay safe and be well.